Morning, it's Vaughan Smith at westcoastbellpottery.ca. It's been a few weeks, maybe 3 or 4 since I did a kiln unloading, because I've been doing lots of work. I had enough work to do 3 bisque firings, so I've got 3 glaze firings. I'm going to be. This is the first, so I'll do videos of them. If it looks like it's getting boring, maybe I'll skip one. But anyway, this is a cone 6. Have a look at the cone. Cone 6 right over, and it's oxidation in a gas kiln, so it means I'm forcing lots of air in during the firing. So basically not the usual gas firing. I think the colors turn out better. You know, I've done reduction firings and that's great for certain colors, but for most of the pieces I think my colors turn out better in the oxidation, and that's probably because I'm using Mastering Cone 6 Glazes as my source book. Alright, so anyway, that's a good thing for that book. It's a nice book. You should be able to get lots of really good glaze recipes. Here's the other thing that I did. I slow cooled it. And I actually, a lot of times, force cool the kiln by leaving the damper open and the blower on from 2200 down to 2000. But this time I didn't. I actually closed it all up and let it slow cool for, naturally. And I only gave it a 15-minute soak because I know some of the glazes run a little bit if you do a longer soak. And what do you get? Well, mouse gray is much nicer, and it has lots of crystals in it if you slow cool. And I knew I had some really nice slow cool type pieces in this. So some sacrifice there, because Tenbaku Gold actually likes a slow cool as well. There's another one. Randy's Red does not. It wants to be fast cooled. So I didn't do Randy's Red, but look at that, mouse gray. That's the reason for this firing. This one in Tenbaku Gold should have lots of the crystals in them, and that was with my oatmeal over the top, and that you'll have to watch the oatmeal video to get that recipe. It's satin matte oatmeal. Anyway, that's the first one. The other thing that I found with this type of firing is my blues. If I do the shorter soak, the blues seem to stay bluer even in the gas kiln. Because in the electric kiln, the blue is much better. But in this one, that turned out really blue. So my blues are better too. Short soak and a slow cool. And lots of oxygen when you're actually firing the kiln. And all that. And there you go. Yep, stilts are falling off nicely. These are cafe au lait bowls, oatmeal over the top of the blue. I have sets of these because somebody ordered the blue. They wanted just blue, so I made a whole bunch of different blue ones. Stilts are coming off really nice and all that, so you can still see the 3 little marks, but I have to just sand those rather than grind them because it's such a. And this one, I'm not sure what I did different, but I think I had a different. Probably. Let me think about it. I may have had my green as well as the oatmeal on that one, and all that, because that's really nice crystals on there. I bet she goes for that one when she comes to pick the orders. Let's hope I made enough of them. And here's one that always runs, variegated blue. And it has run, but not to the bottom because I wiped off the bottom, a good 1/4 inch above the bottom, so that even though it ran down, it actually isn't reaching down onto the actual shelf and all that. So you learn your lessons the hard way, but when you learn them, hopefully you remember. But variegated blue with the oatmeal over the top. And here's a glaze that doesn't like the gas kiln. It's the one that's raspberry in Mastering Cone 6 Glazes, but it turned out really raspberry in this. So there, this is the. I think I figured out how to do a really good oxidation in the gas kiln. It goes pink, like a real kind of tin pink sometimes if I fire it sort of in reduction or even slight reduction. But in this kiln, this one, it really did stay raspberry. I have a birdhouse in that one, and I'm hoping it stayed raspberry for that too. The order for that video, I did that birdhouse video, and the customer wanted a red. So that's the closest we have without doing a full reduction firing. Go, more of the variegated blue. So I have 4 of these if the customer likes that, which I think it's nicer than the bright blue. This is, I call this glaze Maggie Jerk green because I got a recipe from a lady called Maggie Jerk. It's just my apple. That's what I also call it on my videos, I think, apple green. And this is my rutile green. And I have a customer, this is for an order as well, but they wanted greens and I'm not sure which one, so I've done a variety of each. 2 more in the rutile green. It's a shinier, slightly metallic green, I think, than the apple green. A bit more transparent too. But it's turned out very sweet in this one. I like this a lot. In the electric kiln, I don't think that's as nice. And here's the reason again, mouse gray. Look how that looks like stone. It's a shine, but it's still sort of matte a little bit. And this one's even more matte. But mouse gray, I think it's called mouse brown in the actual book, but still should just snap right off like that. Make sure I have a glaze that I use on the bottoms mostly, but this one I actually did this straight glaze of the mouse gray on the bottom, although this one I wiped off completely. But that's the variegated blue again. This rutile green is the same bright blue recipe that you find in Mastering Cone 6 Glazes, but instead of the cobalt, I just added copper, so I got myself a green out of it. And those 2 glazes work really nice together, blue and green. It's the same base, so when you double dip them and stuff, they work perfectly together. That's a nice planter. This is going to hang on the wall. Other people I've seen, people do the attached dish on the bottom for planters, but I actually flatten the back a little bit, put a little extra coil there of clay, like a little disc of clay, and then you can screw these to the wall, and you can put them indoors or outdoors because you've got a tray to catch any overwatering. So that's a nice modification on that, and it flattens it a little bit at the back so it'll sit flat on the wall, and you have to make sure that that is the same as there, so it doesn't sit like that, because then it'll pour. So if it is a little bit less than that, you can just stick a little shim of wood in there when you fasten it to the wall, so it'll be totally flat. Here's a glaze test from my wife. We're playing around with a transparent glaze. It's looking good. So this is a glaze that I mixed cone 4 clear glaze and a cone 6 clear glaze that was slightly cloudy. Put the 2 together and I've ended up with a beautiful transparent glaze. And here's another mouse gray with the oatmeal over it. This is a French butter keeper. Let's get the spilt off. And this is the top of it. Inside there is a stilt. That's how I fire it on top of the kiln prop. Disconnect it and get it out. So I'm going to do a video on these because I'm testing to see. This is glazed all over. And basically you put the butter in there and you put some water in here and it seals it and keeps the butter from being in contact with the air. But it doesn't do anything to cool the actual heat, the butter inside. So I also do this with a terracotta outside that evaporates the water out, and I'm going to do a video on that to test it. So I'll show you that. That's actually in process at the moment. So, but there you go. That's a nice little French butter keeper. And that's what I fire them on. These are sitting on top. You've seen this in other videos where you fire it like that. We also make ceramic frames. My wife just made these pieces, and that's using the apple green. And that's one. I'm not sure what glazes she has on these, actually. Maybe the mouse gray in that one. but she brushes it on because she likes the kind of what do you call distressed look and all that. So far we have no mistakes. This turned out really blue. My wife's tray. These are just slump molded pieces. We have a whole bunch of styrofoam molds. There you go. That video has been done so many times by people. I haven't done a video on it. It's just using styrofoam molds, but if somebody thinks it's worthwhile, give me a shout. Maybe I can do a video on that. There's the raspberry again, and it's got variegated blue on the bottom a little bit. Another one of the blue ones. I should have 4 of these. I've been making sets of 4 for that customer. Tenmaku gold. I'm a little surprised. It has gone gold, but basically the actual outside is a little transparent. Just the brown without the flecks, but on the inside it did, and on the outside there, of course, we've got some flecks, but not quite as good as I thought it was going to be. Got some nice crystals, but they're not everywhere. But the inside of these is really pretty. It's like cosmos. This is the turquoise, blue, green, copper, red. That recipe, I've posted it a few times before. It's all over the internet as well. You just type blue, green, copper, red glaze, and you'll find it. Pinterest is a good place to look for glaze recipes. Another one of the cranberry with the variegated blue. And these are just dishes for my planters. Actually, not planters, berry bowls. Those dishes were for the berry bowls. Yeah, just something to rinse berries. If you don't want a big colander, just a small colander. Nice serving bowls, although people are eating dinner out of these more and more. And this one's very pretty. Got some really good refracted blue in there as well. Oh, here you go. The first variegated blue. It's stuck to the kiln shelf a little bit, but it's on the advancer, so it just lifts right off. I'll have to sand that little edge a bit, and then you'll hardly notice it because it'll be smooth. I'm not even going to get rid of the run because that kind of, I like that. That's part of it. That's when a run is a real run, but it didn't stick. And there's another berry bowl. The variegated blue is the one that tends to run a lot. Yeah, it even covered up my little spiral I put on the inside there. So I just made a new batch of variegated blue. So I made it a little watery so that it won't be as thick when I glaze. More of my wife's little trays. These planters hang. So they're hanging planter baskets, whatever you want to call it. They have a hole in the bottom, so they're meant to go outside. I also make those for indoors as well, without a hole. Look at the inside of that one. That's very pretty. Shame it's on the inside. And then on the outside, it's nice outside too. I always thicken the place where the wire goes through, and I don't think I need to, but I always do it anyway. A lot of times you have to make the customer feel confident when you're making something, because if it looks like it's going to break too easily, the customer won't buy it. So a little frame in mouse gray. So I actually do things sometimes that aren't necessary because of that reason. Because clay is pretty durable unless you hit it suddenly, you know, but just blowing around in the wind outside, I mean, it's pretty strong. Here's another French butter keeper in blue with the oatmeal over the top. There's a turquoise planter with the oatmeal on the bottom. Two more to hang on the wall. Of course, the bigger the dish you make, the more water you can catch, so that for indoor pieces, it's good to actually make sure you've got a big tray underneath so you don't get a stain down the inside of somebody's house if they overwater it. But that's a fairly big tray, so you could have time to go get a sponge to make sure the water wasn't going to run out. Butter keeper bases. These, and there's the Tenbaku Gold, that's what I was looking for. It goes really yellow and crystally on both of these if you do the slow cool. And these are for the local bakery right next door, and that's for White Point. I actually sell my mugs to White Point Resort down the road and also the LaHave Bakery. So that was the Tenbaku Gold. Another hanging planter. You've seen these on the outside of my studio here. I put these right on the road so people can see them. And there should be a lid for this one somewhere. Here it is. Let's see if this one goes. No, I got the lids mixed up there. This one. So this one must fit in here. Yep, there you go. So I had the lids mixed up. These are very pretty. Summery pieces, the beach pieces. Yellow butter in there will look great. These mugs are for White Point as well. This is the raspberry. I'm so happy that this one actually turned out LaHave Bakery and White Point, because this raspberry will sometimes go slightly matte in reduction if you get any gas reduction in the kiln whatsoever, and it's kind of hard to actually avoid a little bit of gas, but it looks like you did okay. I'm looking for the birdhouses. There's another Tenbaku Gold. This one really did crystal again. The one on top that I took out at first didn't have as much of that, so that just means it cooled faster, I guess, on the top of the kiln, which makes sense. It loses its heat mostly out of the top. Only one piece so far has run, so let's hope the birdhouses. That's very pretty. Another beach piece, basically. Another hanging planter. And that's a very happy hanging planter there. Something we've all been using a lot of, lotion pump for dispensers to go on top. And there's one of those birdhouses that we did the video on. So I wax resist the windows and the edges just so that it would actually, and the problem of course now is it going to come off? Because I wax resist everything and then hope the glaze doesn't run. So let's take a look. I I don't see any runs. This is made out of the manganese clay speckle, and that has a little fluxing in the clay. So let's give it a little tap. You can tap a little bit harder, but you don't want to risk it. Let's see, what do I have here? I just tapped it with a kiln prop. Ta-da! There we go. And of course, in the firing, it slumps down and will be totally, flush on the piece because the clay bends a little bit. You can see the lid's bent a little bit. So this is the one that's going out to Ontario. I think it's Frank Flaviano, his name. So that one's going to hang in his garden in Ontario. This one is loose already, so it did not even. And I just did this in Tenmaku Gold, and then it actually hasn't crystallized as yellow as I thought it would, although there is some in there. I'll show you close up. There we go. So that's just going to hang outside here. Of course, I got to put the clothes wire pieces on there yet. All right. Some more of the bowls. More of the green wiggly mugs. I don't think I've made a video on the wiggly mugs yet. I might have. I've got a lot of videos now, so I can't remember what I've done. Hanging planter. Another hanging planter. Now this is the blue that I normally expect in this kiln. It is not that blue, and that's why I'm surprised the other one stayed so blue. And then this one it did go blue, but it's over the oatmeal there as well, so. Tenmaku Gold, when I do the oatmeal and the blue over it, always has a nice look to it. And I did green on the bottom too. Another tray. I wonder which glaze this one was. I'm not sure what one my wife put on there. And these are mugs that are on order as well. These are the apple green still. This was a refire. I had a blowout on it right here, and I just added my oatmeal glaze a little bit and thicker it and refired it, and there was just a tiny bit of blowout from the clay, and it's gone. Saved the piece. This one's very pretty with the mouse gray going down to green with mouse gray and oatmeal on the top. And turquoise. Is there any oatmeal on here? I think there's oatmeal over the turquoise on that one too with the yellow, so that's like the beach. Mouse. This is Tenmaku Gold. oatmeal, blue on it with green again, so that's the same as the last one. These turquoise balls, this is very popular in the summer as a color. And these are in, the clay body was 516 from Pottery Supply House, 516 for those turquoise pieces. I found that V-Mix does not like, now this was a one glaze with some oatmeal, and I just dipped it sideways to get stripes. Did it work on the outside? Yeah, it did. I wanted to get a feeling of stripes going down there. But mouse grey worked great in this firing. All these mugs are on order, so it seems like a lot of mugs, but I have orders for 24 mugs for White Point and also for the Lehigh Bakery, so 24 apiece going out. This is another difficult glaze that I've been playing with. It is a fake ash glaze, and I think I figured it out, but it cost me some money. I had to add a whole half a pint of gum arabic to the glaze, because when you glaze with this, it flakes off very easily. All right, so this one is now working, and I love this glaze, but it's just been caused. I have a teapot that I just gonna have to wash the glaze off and reglaze it now that I've changed the glaze with the gum arabic, because if you look closely, it's got some yellow as well as the green. And of course now I'm going to try playing around with double dipping it, because it is staying on the piece. So that is making me very happy. Another hanging planter. Okay, we just got a bunch of frames. Last piece is in the kiln. Little dishes and a bunch of frames. We make these for little tiles that we do. Matte turquoise turned out very pretty. And this one is unknown. What did we do here? My wife will have to tell me. Okay, we'll call that the end of this one because I've got to repack it with a whole bunch of new pieces. As I said, I did 3 bisque firings in a row, and now I've done the first of the glaze, so I'll probably have enough to do 3 glaze firings. The next one is going to be lots of fish, so that will be fun. All right, so this is Vaughan Smith, westcoatvalePottery.ca. If you saw anything you want, just give me a call. You can give me a timestamp, and I can find it for you. But anyway, we will talk to you in the next video, which will be in about a week. Thank you very much for joining me. Bye.